those create friction because now there's these, false narratives that are coming up, and it's like, dude, you're making this shit up in your head, and you need to let it go.
Yeah.
And but once I was able to look inward and say, that's my fault, not her fault, and how am I going to make myself, one, more attractive, and two, more valuable to the relationship if I'm coming with this type of attitude.
Sounds kind of selfish in relationships when you think about it and you say it out loud that way, but guys, it's definitely the key. It is the ticket.
It is.
And I think that's, again, a quality in a successful mastermind is when people, are kind of looking to, one, hold each other accountable to things, but also to openly share in sometimes a vulnerable way in order to come up with the best solutions and to be open-minded to newer ways of thinking or newer ways to approach things.
Welcome back to Always Level Up the podcast. I'm your host, Carlos Garcia. This is my co-host, Tracy
Ross Garcia.
And this show is sponsored by Level Up Realty, your number one source for discounted real estate in San Antonio, Texas.
Yay. Little plug.
Yes, ma'am.
Little plug. I love it.
So, Tracy and I, this is the show where we're going to share some insights on another principle that is has contributed to success in our relationship, success at work, and it is the mastermind principle. From Napoleon Hill, Think Your Way to Wealth. Have to give credit to Andrew Carnegie. It is one of his core principles of success and how he was able to accomplish great things back in the early 1900s. Mm-hmm. So I'm a big fan of learning from people from the past, and his principles definitely resonate, and they're timeless, and they're still applied today. So this one right here, I think, is it's a big one because a lot of times, when we think about Mastermind Alliance, you think about aligning yourself with people to become successful. Like what is the thing that comes to mind for you?
Well, first when I think of mastermind, I think of what a mastermind isn't. Right? Mm-hmm. It's not like it's not just being at a table with a bunch of people who agree with you. Right,
groupthink. Right, yeah. We don't want a bunch of group thinking.
I always see a mastermind as somebody who's maybe has experience in the space that you're trying to gain knowledge or wisdom in, and they only have to be like, excuse me, one or two steps ahead of you. They don't have to be, all the way ahead. Although the more wisdom and the more experience you have in the space, I feel like there's just a lot more value there. Mm-hmm. But really, for me, that Mastermind Alliance is when, I'm guessing Napoleon Hill. I think he does use this language of harmony, mm-hmm. right? And being in harmony, and we're all working towards a major goal. We're all working towards the same thing, mm-hmm. and we're putting minds together to not to discredit anyone or say somebody has a dumb idea, but to just put all the ideas out there and see mm-hmm. where the magic and connections actually happen, right? Like we're all created differently. We all think differently. We all have different solutions to a lot of times the same problem. And when you can get everybody working together in harmony towards the same goal or towards that same solution, then the likelihood of you finding that solution and finding success is more likely to happen. So especially in the coaching space, we always hear a lot about a mastermind and getting a mastermind and having a group of people who you guys are all working towards a common thing to come together maybe once a week, once a month, whatever it is, a set timeline where you're just consistently working towards something greater than yourselves.
Right on. And I think that's spot on because it's really, when two or more people come together, right, for the alliance, and it's a coordination of knowledge and effort, right? So the members share their skills, their resources, tackle problems to achieve goals, right? Essentially, that's exactly what it is, exactly what you just said. But you have to do it in the spirit of harmony, without a harmonious spirit where there's, it's okay to disagree, but, attitudes matter, right? And people being on the same agenda and knowing what they want to accomplish, but also people not understanding their roles is important. And I think this is it's a big one because a lot of times, we'll think about, this form of mastermind, but you might not choose the right people.
Yeah.
So your Mastermind Alliance has to really be refined, and you have to know exactly what the purpose of forming this group is. And that's one, way, right? But the purpose of today's show is we want to really hone in on the Mastermind Alliance between husband and wife. And Napoleon Hill says, it is the most crucial alliance, right? It is the most critical alliance is the person that you're married to, and the way you operate together, right? There has to be harmony because, without that established relationship, on the home front, it's hard to create a harmonious relationship with anybody else. So it's really important to understand that and why, you have to pour into your relationship and your marriage. And even if you're, just, you have a boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever that looks like, but making sure that there's harmony there, because if there's not, then it creates disruption, and it also trickles into the other areas of your life where it can slow down business. So, I wanted to share a little bit about that, and then how we as a couple, as a married couple,
we can give some examples too of like how I've seen it happen or unfold, and then I'm sure you have a different angle,
right,
to share. But
so we'll talk on that. Prior to us, becoming familiar with these principles, we were applying this principle not knowing it, and I think because you have strengths where I have weaknesses and vice versa, we were able to help each other get to a point and navigate through the challenges of our life, right? Because that's important, right? To understand it, like becoming successful in any avenue wasn't just a one-person thing. There's support along the way, even if it was in college, right? So that's like, to me, that's the first place. Like, we're in school, we're both working in to become better and to enhance our skills, to gain some skills, to make ourselves marketable. And, along that journey, I lot of obstacles that come up, right? And, for me, it's like, okay, well, I know you graduated before me. So I was like, all right, you're going to be the first one to go out, right? Yeah. You're going to go out into the workforce. And while we were, going through college, we had support, but, once you graduated, you had your job, and, you started being a support to help me get through college. So
yeah, I had my entry-level position, marketing, right?
Yeah.
And it was a salary, and we had benefits, and we had, just the basic needs that were going to allow us to, one, find a little bit of peace and some harmony and some stability.
Right.
Because without those things first, it's hard to have a mastermind of harmony when there's no stability. So first, just get yourself to a stable place where, you're not to say that we weren't in survival mode, but we were in a healthy place to be able to have dialogue and to have some strategy, at least to have a line of communication open between us, because we had a healthy relationship. It was still growing. There was still a lot that we needed to learn, but we had at least that as a baseline. So that's important to know, because I know there's probably some people listening to this who might be single, might be in a relationship, but there's broken lines of communication. So those are probably the first things that you need to work on.
Absolutely. And when I think back to that time, some of the things that we struggled with, but more I struggled with were, just the insecurities, right? And when you're in a relationship and you're young and you're in your 20s, you can feel a little insecure about not being where you want to be in life. And that can just lead to, more arguments and just like disagreements and just kind of just petty stuff that can break a relationship up. And I think, when it comes down to it, and you're trying to create this harmony, you have to look within and say, where am I causing problems and preventing us from actually be working in a harmonious way? And what helped me was, we had an argument once, and it wasn't, it was good, but it wasn't positive, and but it made me realize, one, I need to just continue to focus on myself, which means I need to work on my skills. I need to work on...
Which sounds kind of selfish in relationships when you think about it and you say it out loud that way. But, guys, it's definitely the key. It is the ticket.
It is because what I was too concerned about was, what were you doing? And who were you around? And all those type of things, it's like, oh, are you around guys? And,
and are they better than me, right? Are they,
and those type of things
that are feeding the insecurities.
Exactly. And those create friction, because now there's these, false narratives that are coming up, and it's like, dude, you're making this shit up in your head, and you need to let it go.
Yeah.
And but once I was able to look inward and say, that's my fault, not her fault. And how am I going to make myself, one, more attractive, and two, more valuable to the relationship if I'm coming with this type of attitude? So once I started looking inward and just started focusing on my work that had to do with school, making sure that I was passing, making sure that I was getting good grades, because I was like, man, eventually I'm gonna be somebody valuable. I'm not gonna be this person who I am today. Tomorrow I'll be better.
And I believed that. I did. I really did. I still do.
We're still here. But I think, when it comes to it, that's the first piece, and especially in an early and young relationship, and it's not even a marriage, like, you have to get through that, because once you do, now you can move on and you can really start focusing on growth.
And, not to like make this about relationship advice or anything like that, but when you say things like that out loud, you can clearly see where there can be a disconnect, right? If you're projecting, and you said, there's insecurities that you had, and you're like pushing these like false stories around on me, and of course that is making me like retreat and not believe, or not like, well, you're accusing me of all these things, and I don't want to, it creates a divide.
Yeah.
Right. It creates this huge divide, instead of what it actually did was the opposite of, okay, now you're working on yourself. Now you're working to be better. Now you're, in these honors classes, getting good grades, you're getting accolades, you're building your confidences up, you feel really good about yourself. And that attracts me more to that than what it was before, of like making me like, okay, this is not who I want. This is not what I want. Now, we have a little bit more harmony. There's a little bit more peace, and there's a little bit more connection.
Right. Well, and on top of that, what it allows you to do is to focus on what you're doing, focus on who you're becoming, and so, there's it gives way to the resistance of growth, because now you don't have to worry about me, hovering over you, or like, what's going on? Like, no, now you can go do your work, whether it's schoolwork, work, whatever it is, and let it be what it needs to be, So,
and it's so much easier to work in that way, right? To, if I'm, because I'm entry level, trying to work my way up the ladder and try to be seen and trying to say yes to as many things as I can so I could build my resume and get the next, promotion or whatnot. But that's difficult to do when your home life is like in chaos, and there's no trust, and there's all these other things going around. So then you're selling yourself short, and you're not, living up into your full potential, or being able to bring value and contribute to a potential mastermind if you're shrinking.
Right. Exactly.
So,
and what Napoleon Hill says, he says, the blending of the minds of men and women can create the most effective alliance for achieving goals, right? It's essential for support, right? The the spousal mastermind as a central support system, not only for pursuing individual aspirations, but also for navigating life's challenges. So, that was part of it, right? Okay, we're navigating life's challenges. Yes, we're not where we want to be in life, but we're going somewhere. We have a child. We have to take care of them. We have responsibilities. Like, it's not time to, play games. We got to get it together, right? Because time's moving, and we got to be moving with time in a positive direction. So, so that was, kind of like a early stage, navigating the challenges of life, and kind of getting the harmony in alignment, and then from there, I want to kind of move on to the next phase of graduation. Right, we're graduating. And you graduated, I graduated college, and now you're working, you're already moving in a direction where you're bringing in an income, you're getting the established work history. I'm following behind you, but when it comes time for me to find my career path, it's not ideal. Yeah, it's not ideal in the sense of, one, I get a job at Radio Shack. So that was only paying me, I think I was making $15 an hour. I knew it was a stepping stone, but it was a humbling experience. Like, you know what? I got to at least continue to build my work ethic and build my resume, right, in a way. And then from there, I found my opportunity, foot in the door in real estate, which was huge. It was a huge opportunity, but it was commission only, right? So I have to now I have to go and do what I need to do to build up my pipeline and start to get the business going. So I start to create an additional mastermind with my associates that I was working with. But in that time, right, in that time frame, you're still leading, you're still able to support and help me,
And even leading in the sense of, and I didn't know, I guess we were kind of winging it at the time. I didn't know, but it was kind of a core value of mine of just being a support. Like, I'm just naturally nurturing. So, he's a college graduate and gets a job at Radio Shack, which you don't need a college degree for. But instead of being like, oh gosh, like what kind of, I'm like, oh heck yeah. Like, it's your foot in the door. It's sales. Like, you can grow your resume like huge with a sales job. It doesn't matter what you're selling,
Very supportive. Didn't belittle me. She was like, "Hey, good job. Let's keep this thing going, right?"
Yeah. Sell something.
Let's go. But in that time, it was like, okay, cool. She's got my back. I got her back. And part of it was like, okay, for me, I was motivated, right? I was motivated because, like, look, I see we're going somewhere. And I see, like, I can see the path of growth in front of me. Now, it didn't turn into a lot of money right away, but over time, things got better and better. And you also were able to continue to advance yourself, right? So as we were both on our career paths, that turned into, your job opportunities where you ended up becoming the director of public relations at St. Philip's College. Yeah. So that was huge. That was a huge growth step. So in this time, just kind of going back to it, is our mastermind, and not really knowing that we were in a mastermind, but knowing that we're doing life together and we need to figure this out. But we need to work together and support each other, because if we don't, well then, things don't go well.
Yeah. And I think also, like, again, us, because I didn't really have a concept of Mastermind and this Mastermind Alliance at this time.
Right.
This was all happening, right? This is kind of like just happening in the background. And again, I think because we did share a lot of the same values and we talked about those things, and it allowed us to work in this way. But what I think that allowed the success opportunities to unfold is both of us taking action. Yep. Like, you were going to school, you were applying for the jobs, you were doing those things, and same for me. I was saying yes to things at work, and we were both just continually taking action.
Yeah, and part of this is the mutual improvement and growth, right? So to have that successful relationship, we have to support each other in our goals and our aspirations, right? So, and that's what we talked a lot about. Like, well, what did you want to do? Who did you want to become? And who did I want to become? And how are we going to do this? And what does life look like, in 5 years from now? And what does our home look like? And having those things and those conversations really started allowing us to kind of create and this manifestation process to where it starts to become a reality, or we're on that path for it to become a reality.
And it feels kind of fluffy, right, talking about it now. It did not feel this good back then when we were, sharing a car, getting to work with one car. But in the mundane, which is, we had a little Bible study this morning. It talked about these like daily tasks, which was getting to and from work, sharing one car, kind of living off of one income. We were having these conversations almost because not that we were forced, but we were kind of forced because we're in a commute, an hour, sometimes 40 minutes in the morning, another 40 minutes after work. And then we would sometimes stop at a little happy hour spot to have a margarita before we got home to the babysitter, which was my mom and the kids. Was it just Josiah at that time? Or did Mackay? Then Mackay came. Yeah. So we were having these conversations, right? We were in the car every day, Monday through Friday, talking about goals, talking about the work day, talking about, what's next for us. So again, it's this power of manifestation and power of not just talking about the struggles and why our day went so bad, but why our day went well today and the next best thing for us. So
so we talk about and I like highlighting the struggles because it's real. Like things weren't, like you said, they weren't fluffy. And one of the biggest challenges that we went through together, which you were supporting me again, was when I picked up that felony case of having a gun when I shouldn't have had one. Thank you for the grace, and I had probation, but you were there in the courtroom and went through it, and it didn't knock us off our path because the thing that helped save me, keep my freedom was the fact that I was in school, and that just reinforced stay on this path, right? And then you having my back along the way also reinforced that you're the right person to live life with, to do life with, because it was very supportive of like, hey, we'll get through it. Although I know it was scary.
I never want to see a courtroom again.
And it was a federal courtroom, guys. And I'll tell you what, those are probably the scariest courtrooms because it says United States of America versus you. Like, oh my gosh.
You with no money.
With no money. Like, how are we going to, Jesus help me. and God did, and got us through that season. But as you know, you have to appreciate the challenges, right? You have to appreciate the challenges, but also to get through them, to know like, hey, there's light at the end of the tunnel, and it's not the only challenge that you're going to go through, right? So, from one career to the next, one situation to the next, there's going to be new levels of challenges that are going to come up, and how you respond to those are going to be important, right? Yeah. So as we progress through that, right, through that experience, graduation and getting our first jobs, getting our foot in the door, it opened up more opportunity, right? So things start to shift again, right? So as that shift happens, you're working at St. Philip's for, how long did you work there?
4 years.
For about 4 years, right? Director, you have you're climbing this ladder, and you can see, you see what that looks like, right? And by that time, I'm already thriving in my career, and
I think during that time I did my master's.
Yeah.
Then I got pregnant.
Yeah. Well, you did that, but I think the thing is that where we had to support each other, right? Because you did get pregnant, and then, but then you got to a point where you're like, you were doing your master's and you were pregnant and you were working at St. Philip's, right? And the amount of like toll that was taken on you, it was challenging, right? And so, thankfully, because you were supporting me along the way and allowing me to go do what I had to do for work, and whether I was working, 10-hour days or whatever, like you gave me the freedom, right? And you were working long hours too, so a lot of times we were missing each other. But it came to a point where you made a decision, and you're like, man, I think I want to make a pivot, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, it was hard. It was a rigorous master's program, a rigorous job, and all that while being pregnant and having 2 kids at home.
Right.
That was a lot. It took a toll, and I needed during it, I felt like I could do it. Didn't feel like a lot until I needed a breather.
Right.
And it was time. I remember, I think I graduated. Well, I had the baby in January. I was scheduled to graduate in May, and like I think in April I resigned or something.
Yeah.
Right before graduation, after the baby, I went on maternity leave, and I went back, and I was like, I'm not going to do this. It was too much. It was making me feel very diluted as not just a professional, but also as a mom and also as a wife. Like I felt like I wasn't doing any of them to my best of my ability. And so something had to give. And I think I earned it. At that point, I was like, I think I earned some time to just be mom and wife,
And that's huge. And, a lot of times, people might think, well, man, you did all this work and then now you're giving up your career, right, to be a mom, stay-at-home mom. But the beauty in that is that, being a stay-at-home mom is a full-time job, and then you're not just a stay-at-home mom, you're a home manager, right? You're managing the home. You're taking care of the children. You're making sure that, all the things that need to be done are kept up with. And then you're also being a supportive wife along the way, which for me, being able to have, get this space where you can actually, I don't want to say you have freedom because it wasn't really like you just have this free time on your hands, but you can actually do things that are going to matter where, you're spending time with your children and now you're building those bonds as opposed to, missing that opportunity where, they don't get to know you because you're full-time career mom, right?
Yeah.
But to me, I appreciated that. And I was like, okay, now we have this relationship where it's harmonious. You're working on the home. I'm taking care of, all the other responsibilities that come with that. And, we're moving, we grow.
It's so funny because I remember thinking back at that time, and I know this sounds like sounds small, but it was like, to me, it was like, okay, God is saying like, yes, God is in agreement with this decision that I'm making, but it was insurance, right? Like I carried our health and medical insurance for the family, and then you had like a position change or something happen where you became like a manager role or like an actual employee at the company instead of a 1099.
Assistant general manager.
Yeah, and so then you had an opportunity to get insurance, and I'm like, perfect.
Yeah,
you get insurance, and I can quit my job,
and I got a salary. But the hard work and the dedication to what I was doing, I wasn't drifting. I was focused. I was locked in, and that opened up those doors because I think because of the habits that I developed, through college and continue to grow through the career, it allowed me to advance myself because I became, a top performer in the company that was only commission only, but I believe in what I was doing. And when that opportunity came up, it was like, boom, let's go. And we're feeling really good at that time, and things get better. And, not only do we make a transition, we buy your mom's house, we end up buying another house, so we buy multiple vehicles, so we're not sharing cars. Like there's a lot of good things that came out of it, a lot of support. We were able to remodel our homes, like a lot of great things were coming out of these experiences. But it was because we were working together, because we had this relationship and we were lifting each other up. I think there was, although we weren't 100% in agreement all the time, and, we've had our moments where we've, we've argued, but they were always short, and we were able to find solutions quickly and let the small things go. And I think that's what really allows us to keep the harmony in the relationship, so we continue to grow together stronger.
Yeah. And for me, I think I've always had like a desire and I just want to have a relationship where where I was actually friends with my partner, and
Right.
and where we could hang out and have conversations and talk about things that we're interested in, and not just where it was beyond like, oh, well, just the kids and what are the kids doing, or who's doing laundry or who's picking up this. It was more than that. It was more of a connection. So we were able to have like real, meaningful conversations. I felt really good, sharing with him about things that were happening at work, even though I didn't want him to give me any answers or solutions, just listen. And he was really good at sharing things with me, and I was able to give answers and solutions. And then, even just understanding our own dynamics, super helpful. And I think that's, again, a quality in a successful mastermind is when people, are kind of looking to, one, hold each other accountable to things, but also to openly share in sometimes a vulnerable way in order to come up with the best solutions and to be open-minded to newer ways of thinking or newer ways to approach things.
Yeah, and I think one thing that helped me is that, when I look at our relationship, it's not like we're in competition with each other. It's like we're a team. Yeah, we're doing this together. And I trust you, and you trust me. And so being able to have these conversations, whatever it is that we're dealing with and whatever challenges that we're having, or even if, you're seeing things or, that may be leading me off the path that I'm on, right? And having those tough conversations, like, hey, are we going in the right direction here? Let's course correct.
Yeah.
And those are things that we had to go through as well, because when things get good, they're good, but eventually things change, and eventually, certain habits can come into play, and you don't even realize that these are not the best habits for you. And that was, for me, one of the realizations, because as you become successful and you start to make a lot of money, we're having great times, we're going on trips, we're living the life, like, it's great. We have more money than we need. And but along that, with that freedom, gave opportunity to take advantage, in a way that was like, all right, am I spending too much time socializing, right? Am I hanging out at the bars too long? Like, happy hours were part of like a thing for, being the culture of real estate and our company. And man, they get wild. And it's like, hold on, I'm drinking a little too much, and the decisions aren't the best decisions that I'm making, which start to make me realize, all right, well, what path am I actually going down now? And so when you have a partner that really cares about you, really loves you, and wants the best for you, she will help you course correct. And Tracy definitely helped me get back in alignment. And because that was, it's important, right? Because where we're going, we're thinking about the next 5 years, the next 10 years, right? And what does that look like? So you have to be mindful, right? You have to be mindful when things are not working or things are starting to, fall out of alignment. Then it's like, all right, well, what needs to change? What's the root of the problem?
And I remember having these conversations too, kind of when you were on that path. And I was never right. I'm just very passive. I think I'm kind of a passive person, but when it's time to say something, I definitely say it.
Yeah, for sure.
But
that's when I know. It's like, yeah,
you probably passed the line here, buddy. Reel you back in.
Yeah.
But it's just about this having this shared vision, and for me to say something as simple as like, well, if you want to be a CEO, that's not what CEOs do. Like, CEOs aren't out with their coworkers, the last one at the bar, like closing down happy hour.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's just as simple as that. It's not an argument. I'm not like, stretching it and taking it, but I'm sharing something with you that really is right aligned with, a core mission of ours, right? Like you want to be at the top. You want to be this person. You want to be a leader. You want to be someone that develop leaders. I know all these things about you. And all it just takes for me to say is, well, that's not what leaders do.
That's it. I'm like, you're right. Her words hit deep. I'm gonna let you know. And for me, because I remember, I reflect a lot on what got us to where we're at. Right? How do we get here? And think about all the pains, the struggles. And for me, it's like, man, was all that for nothing? Mm-hmm. That's the question that I ask myself. Was all that for nothing? Like, did you go through all that just to go get to this point and fall off? Like, no, I didn't. Get your ish together, and let's course correct. And let's start to develop these new habits, right? And so that's part. I think that's a very important part of your mastermind is being able to have conversations where things aren't going right, and we need to get back on track because we got a lot more work to do. Mm-hmm. We're nowhere where we want to be, and we have more responsibilities. We have children and more children. They just kept coming, and so that to me was just like, okay, no time to waste. But without having the conversations, without the regular meetings together, and even when you were at home and taking care of the kids, that we still have the conversations because what's next? What's next? It's always about what's next. So we never stayed complacent, and it got to a point where we hit another shift, right? And that shift is a transition from my career with the company that I did really well with, provided a lifestyle that was beyond my wildest dreams. Like it was great. And, but it was coming to an end. And that next chapter looked a little scary, right? And we talked about this and we had conversations about it. And this decision to go off and start my own thing and go down the path of entrepreneurship, as well as you were, not only stay at home mom, but you were in entrepreneurship as well. So it's like, we doing this together. Yeah.
I'm like, wait a minute, I'm already on a ship or on a little boat that I'm building as I go. You want to get on this boat too? Wait a minute, your boat is already established.
Yeah. It was.
Can I just tie something to yours and you pull me? No. Let's do something else.
But because we had conversations and we created a plan, this was very important to our transition, at least more my transition. You were already in that space, so I knew I had to have a plan that you were going to feel comfortable with, and actually okay, there's something here that it's not just we're just jumping off into this raft together and we're going to drift somewhere I don't want to be, and you had my back. And you had my back and supported me in the decision. It was a tough decision. We lost our insurance. Yeah. We lost our insurance. We didn't have that. And, we ended up selling our home that we renovated and, we cashed out of that and we have this to lean on and to get us through the storm we're about to go through. And you're like, hey, well, let's do it. Right. And we did. So we made a bunch of tough decisions to go down this path. And we created the company Level Up Realty, right?
3 years old, baby.
3 years old, right? And we're still going. And but the support along the way, right? The conversations, it was never, you can't do this. Why are you doing this? Or any type of resentment or any type of negativity. It was like, all right, what are we doing? What has to be done? And then we came to the point where it's like, hey, I need your help. Yeah. I need you to work with me. In a way to help get this thing going to a whole nother level because it was not easy and getting the right people. And one thing I could tell y'all right now, having the right people on your team is very hard to do, but I knew my wife has skills, has knowledge, has experience. She is a leader and she's also a great professional. So I was like, man, I can definitely leverage your skills and talents to help us go.
How much is this going to cost you? I did work for free for a little bit, but it really is the trust, an important factor, an important trait to have a successful mastermind is trust, radical accountability and trust. And I think that's really had to play out in this last transition season of really, it was scary. Yeah, it was scary to say, oh gosh, this is like, it's 12 years of comfort and consistency that I know to go choose something else, entrepreneurship, which I'd already been on that path for a couple years, knowing how difficult it's been and how hard it's been. But really was kind of like, for me, because I really believed in what I was doing, I just knew it was a matter of time. And with you, and I know you, I know who you are at your core and how you're relentless in your fight, and you don't give up, right? You're a hustler in spirit. So I knew that if you can just take those core things and translate them to whatever this new chapter looked like for us, then we would eventually find success. Again, we're still in it. We're still at the beginning of it, but it doesn't feel as hot as it did at the beginning.
The beginning was way hotter, but we've definitely, we're off.
Yeah, we've got we're paddling above the water now. The water was coming in really quick at one point, but again, it was that mirror, and it our all along this way, our faith had been just like constant, and just been something that we'd both been growing individually and really as a couple, as a family. So it was an opportunity for me to really lean in on that, on our faith, and just active faith and what that feels like. During that time, I was also really studying transition and what transition feels like on the inside.
Right.
I was coaching women through transition, and I'm seeing my husband go through it in real time also. So I knew from studying it that the best thing for me to do was support it, to allow space for it, to know that it's going to take some finessing, some kind of experiments to happen. We might not get it right out the gate, and that was true.
Yeah,
that was all true.
Yeah, a lot wrong.
And really, it was just it's the identity, right? And I'm obsessed with talking about identity. That could be probably like its own podcast in itself. But the identity shift that my husband was having at that time, how could I be there to support him through that? Because if I could support him through that shift, then and allow him to just realize who he is in that, and do everything that I can to like feed that in a positive way, then we were going to just be moving in the right direction, right? And there was just that identity shift, and then just, and it didn't happen fast, but in the moment that it happened, where he was finally able to see himself in a new way, things just started opening up, and things started connecting and unfolding, and it's just such a blessing. So thankful that I'm able to witness it, right? And I'm still now I'm in it. Like I can witness it daily. I come in and I work in the space with our team, with him. Even when I don't come into the office, I'm asking him how he's doing, how he did at the end of the day. I'm,
Holding me accountable.
Checking in on his
She's
goals.
She's my accountability coach, my transition coach, all of it. But I want to go back to what you touched on, which is faith, right? And so one of the parts of the principle is that when two or more people come together, you tap into this third mind, right? That's what he calls it.
Infinite
intelligence, right? But what I see that as you tap into God, right? We tap into God as the source of all things, and because part of our decision to do this was to give it all to God, right? It's to really apply our faith and show God that, hey, we're trusting you to help us get this thing going. We're giving the business up to you, and really leaning on the faith was a big part of it. And that's where I think that God has come in and has helped us along the way and provided the right resources along the way. And because the intention and everything that we were doing this for was for a greater purpose, right? It was to do it to serve and to do God's work. and to give it up to God, right? So I think that was huge, which allowed us to even have a closer bond, a stronger relationship, because now as we're working, we have a different outlook on things, and most people, they're going to find it challenging to work with their spouse.
We both find it. Sometimes there's some challenges.
There's some challenges, but I know what not to do. So I was like, but I also know what I should do as an individual. So and play my role, and she helps me see the blind spots, and so as we've worked through that, and we've been able to navigate the space. And when I say the space, working together, and because you're still, mom, you're still mom, you still got to do that. So you have the time to do and handle the home responsibilities, but also to come and handle the work responsibilities, which also makes me feel responsible, even more responsible, not only to handle my part in the work environment, but to also go home and help with the home responsibilities, because it's not 100% there. So we need to be able to support each other on the home front and in the work environment as well, because those things still need attention. Yeah. The children still need attention, and they're still demanding.
And it really is that that kind of counterbalance of, okay, I'm going to bring value to the business and to work, and he's also going to then also bring value to the home. And I am pretty traditional. I can say that I'm a feminist too, but I have some traditional values. But one of the things that would hold me back and would stir up a little bit of resentment time was just the mental load that I would carry of all the house stuff, especially when I was 100% at home. Until I finally was able to voice this is our home together, and it's not just my responsibility, just because you're making the money and I'm not doing a lot of things that generate income for the home. A lot of what I do allows you to generate income for the home. So we did have a good heart to heart with, okay, what are some responsibilities? What are some ways that you can lighten the load for me? Even something as small as you taking the little ones to school on your way to work, that was a huge help, right? Yeah. Especially as I had a new baby. Whenever there was a new baby that came, it's okay, I don't want to get up out the house and go do all that. But
exactly.
As women, as moms, a lot of the times we kind of harbor all the responsibilities of the home because it just makes us so we're this martyr of it's going to make us be a super mom, and it's going to make us feel. We don't want. Why should we bother our husband to do that? He's going to go to work and he's going to make the money. But no, girl, get him in on it. Get him in. And to me, it really, if you look at it I don't. To me, I'm at least do bath time once or twice a week. You can do that. I don't have to do it all the time. It's just those small things that add up to especially they're these daily tasks that add up. Bringing my husband, my partner, my teammate in on these things, because one, I don't. I was starting to look at it, and I would tell him this too, and I would position it this way, I don't want to take any opportunities from you to bond with our children. They say funny stuff when you're giving them baths and they're telling them, reading them bedtime stories or their prayers at night or whatever it is. But I used to always take all those responsibilities on, and you just thought, oh, that's what she just wants to do. She likes to do, and because I wasn't voicing that, this is a lot.
Yeah,
this is a lot, and. Once I finally did, and sharing that weight with you helped me, and it helped me feel free, and it helped me feel appreciated. Right. And so when I was able to come into the work and add value and add my skill set to our work environment, it was a lot easier to do.
Right. And from my side of the table, I pay attention to these things, right? And I think more about, and a lot of this has to do with the maturity, I think more about the children and the time spent with them and those little moments, right? But it also, it changes the expectations, right? So no longer do I come home and expect to walk into a perfectly clean house. It's just not going to happen. I'm going to walk into some chaos, and you're going to be tag. You're in.
Get me out of here.
Get me out of here. Help's arrived. And so that's the work that needs to be done when I get home. And but I learned to appreciate it, right? Not to be like, look, things are going to be perfect, and the kids are going to keep the house. No, they're going to make a mess every single day. And every single day, you have to be okay with it.
Newsflash, they live here.
Newsflash, they eat every day. And sometimes they disrespectfully throw things everywhere. And I've learned to just kind of really channel those negative emotions and switch it to where, like, appreciate this and switch it to gratitude. Like, don't be frustrated with them. Be grateful. Be grateful that you have a home for the children. That, hey, you know what, that they're actually able to walk around and do these things. Mm-hmm. Yes, but now there's an opportunity to teach them, and help them develop. And that, beyond my responsibility of working and providing, I have a responsibility for developing my children. And I also have a responsibility for taking care of my home as well, just as much as you have that responsibility. Yeah. So, when you look at it from a different angle and saying, like, hey, I'm here to serve, and I'm here to do the work that God's put me here to do. It's part of it, Like, what is a dad, right? Like, what is a dad? When you think about it and you break it down like that, what is a dad? Yeah.
And you have your definition attached to that, then am I doing those things that a good dad does? Or who do I want to be? Who do I want my children to see me as? Am I doing any of those things? Or am I complaining about all those things that come with that,
When it's taken a step further, right? What is a dad? What is a husband? What is a leader?
Yeah. What is a wife? What is a mom? Same thing for me. I was doing the same thing for myself, right? And it helps to, like, put things in perspective, like you said.
Right on. And, with that, because we've been able to operate in this way, and because we have a strong relationship that didn't happen overnight, when we met each other, we weren't perfect. We were actually totally
very imperfect,
opposite people that came together by the grace of God. And, we did the work that was necessary because of our circumstances. Mm-hmm. And because we chose to work together every step of the way, especially as we started learning new things and we continued our personal development beyond college, because we didn't just stop learning. We kept learning.
Yeah. And we brought the book into our relationship like it was intentionally.
Very.
Right. Carlos read the book first, and then he shared it with me, and then it's been something on our replay audio for quite some years now.
Absolutely.
At least 10 years at this point, where it's just it really is like an anchor for us. And, now we're not doing it just winging it. We intentionally apply these principles, and we don't pull out the book or anything like that. But sometimes we do. Like sometimes, like today, when we knew that we were going to talk about this, I did a little refresher, and then I'm sure you did too. But again, it's not to say that go out and read the book. But yeah, if you are in a relationship and you're looking for that Mastermind Alliance, or you think that's something that could improve, then it's a good principle to review and go over. I'm pretty sure there's probably little videos on YouTube or TikTok too to just give you a quick recap of what that is. But it is the principle of the power of the Mastermind Alliance,
right.
How working in perfect harmony, and how a husband and wife is the ultimate alliance to have.
Absolutely. And once that's established, then everything else falls into place. I was told a long time ago, if you take care of the home, everything else will work itself out. And it's so true. And just having a harmonious relationship with your wife, beyond the intimacy, it's like really having intentional conversations, really being partners, and really working as a team. No matter what the season is, because we've gone through a lot of different seasons, so we even got to this point to where we're working together, which I'm sure you probably never thought.
No, this was not on my bingo card, y'all. This was not it.
Yeah, mine either. I was like, all right, well, guys, get her and work with you. I was like, I can see it.
And it was crazy too, because right before I came on to work in the company, I did like a consulting gig for a friend of mine that I actually went to high school with. And it was funny because I was doing a lot of the consulting was a lot of the things that you were experiencing with growing your business and some of the communication and building and high performance type things that you were wanting to bring to the team. And I had all those skill sets, and I was really seeing how what the connection was. And I feel like God just did that too to kind of help me see where, don't be a quick no, right? Like think about this and see where you can really bring the value, and that helped. But again, it's the environment that we're in, the environment that we've created for one another, for ourselves, at home has allowed us, I really feel, to be able to multiply that in other areas. So because the energy at home feels aligned and it feels like we're both in it and we're both contributing and the expectations are being met, or actually at least they're clear, then the impact that we make outside of the home and in our workspace allows us to like level up.
I think that because we've been able to do these things, it opened up the door in the work environment where we're currently at right now to start to mastermind with other professionals, right? The professional mastermind, and that has really helped the business grow. Where we've been building these good relationships, and they've become fruitful, and they're turning into repeat business, and now we're really, really seeing growth. And also, we're even seeing it within our team, where we've had to create harmony within our team, and we've had to make adjustments to the team. And now we're at a point where things are constantly improving and getting better and better over time. So, I really, have appreciated the journey, and I really have, loved the time that we've spent together working through these challenges, because this has also led to another level of growth. And if you guys ever want, to hit that next level, challenge yourself to do something uncomfortable and to build something that you never thought you could build before. Because I think this is probably one of those things for us.
Yeah. Love it.
So, with that being said, any final thoughts you want to share?
If you guys have questions, if this rattled any questions for you, you can always DM me or even Carlos, reach out to them. Instagram is usually where I hang out. But, we're not sharing this to try to say that, this is we're like this perfect power couple. But it really is to talk about how to find balance, how to find connection, how to start conversations, that it's okay to disagree, but how do you handle disagreements, right? How do you speak to each other? Those little things really do matter. The core values and having mutual respect and trust is going to allow you to grow your relationships, and not just a marriage, but whatever mastermind type relationships you have with that centered trust and core values. Then you can grow it into whatever, and it can become very, very fruitful. The power of a Mastermind Alliance, working in harmony, all those good things. It's all manageable. It's all it's realistic and it's doable, and it should be something that you look to establish with maybe not your partner, but an acquaintance, somebody that that you can that can hold you accountable and you can hold accountable, and you guys are working towards a definite purpose. So again, get on that book, Napoleon Hill. Lock in, like and subscribe. Always Level Up Podcast, and we'll see you guys next time.
Oh, love it.